Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 18th of June, 2022. Coming up in the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 177, The Creeping Bill C11 and C18. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. More liberals want to control what you see and do online. And all that and more coming up in the podcast. Please stick around. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, and this podcast is also brought to you in part by the fine people at Dark Horse Entrepreneur. Yes, that's right. Mr. Tracy Brinkman is a podcast entrepreneur. He can help you with your podcast, all that good stuff. You can find him at darkhorseschooling.com. Links will be in the description. That's Dark Horse Entrepreneur with Tracy Brinkman. He will help fellow podcasters such as myself and yourself out there if you want to start a podcast, and the finer points of getting out to people. So please check out Dark Horse Entrepreneur today. Anyway, carrying on again with the whole episode 177. Yes, for your safety, Creeping Bill C11, C18, censors and all this stuff. I mentioned this before on the podcast a little while ago there, ladies and gentlemen, in reference to the censorship they were promoting before, Stephen Gilbert, when he was the Heritage Minister, talking about it. Stuff about online hate and everything like that and all this other stuff. Oh my God, people are saying hateful things online. And Jagmeet Singh has said some really stupid things, of course, talking about how people are radicalized, how people are out there and the whole hate speech issue, especially in reference to the truckers convoy that happened this past February, right? People getting out, getting the word out, people being radicalized, apparently, according to these politicians. Now, we don't need the internet to radicalize people. We don't. Now, it helps. It's a tool, but I'm not going to sit here and try to justify why people do things. Maybe it's because people want to get their voice out. People want to hear things. People want to do things. People want to read things. Okay. And the fine people at Canada Proud, nice page on Facebook there, put together a little video to explain to the masses what C11 and C18 really are and what they really mean. And I'll be playing that video here shortly. But as always on my podcast, I like to promote the simple fact that you, as a consumer, taxpayer, uncle, father, brother, sister, mother, lover, fighter, whatever, fellow Canadians, and to my American listeners and British listeners, you have the right to see and do what you want online. Now, if you do something stupid online, like fraud somebody or steal something, that you pay the price. But if you're watching a movie or finding information on underwater basket gardening or interpretive dance, then you should, regardless if it comes from whatever country. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, these fine people that are putting together C11 and C18, they sit there and they're claiming that they're protecting Canadian identity, Canadian politics, Canadian content creators, such as myself, such as yourself, other creators like Rebel News, TNC News, Diverge Media, Daniel Boardman, Press for Truth, all those guys out there, Greg Wycliffe, a few mentioned, and not to mention some people that are on my page, like my good friend Adam Denny Mezei, actor extraordinaire, Frank P. Vaughan, right? Just to name a few more out there. And yourself, Crusty Canuck, myself, Crusty, not yourself, myself, Crusty Canuck, putting product out there for you, the viewer, to consume and to enjoy at your leisure. Now, with C11 and C18, what exactly are you promoting? Basically, it's just government-sponsored, what they say is Canadian or not. Okay? What they say is good for you based on their approval, right? That's what it is. It has nothing to do with democratic freedom. It has nothing to do with making sure that there's good Canadian content out there for every consumer to choose from. They're going to pinpoint exactly what you get to see and hear, what you get to watch. And they're going to decide which is viable Canadian content or not. Now, I made this point very clear. Look at the flags in my studio/office here. Okay, there's a lot of Canadian history here. All these books here to my left and my right to what I wear on my head, even though summertime's coming and people say, Crusty, why are you wearing a toque? It just goes with the show, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my head's overheating, but I can manage for this episode. So, needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't look promising and it doesn't look good for us independent content creators. Now, I'm seen on many platforms. I've had some wonderful comments over the past couple of weeks. And I want to say thank you out there to everyone who has sent me a couple of wonderful emails. Thank you. That's right. Thank you too. You guys are awesome. And I'm very appreciative of the feedback I do get. I would like some more, however. So please consider donating and subscribing today. All links to me in the description there, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to reach me via email, you can. Just look at the little red banner at the bottom of your screen there, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. Send me an email. Send me your thoughts. And if you don't want to send me an email and want to comment on the page, please comment on this video once it's put up on the tube and other platforms too. So that being said, again, get back to C11. C11 is basically going to let the CRTC, Canadian Radio and Television Communications, or Commission, tell you what is feasible, what's not. It's kind of like how they govern what's on television, Canadian airwaves, right? Making sure it's not too violent or too bad or too sassy. But see, the way I look at it, when you watch television or read any newspaper or magazine, that is up to you as the consumer to decide. If you don't like an article, you can write to the editor and say, hey, I don't like what you have to say about this. You don't like a TV show, you either change the channel, get a different signal, stream something else, or watch something else. Right? Have we turned into a society where everything has to be so comfortable and intellectually comfortable and safe, right? Well, the way Ottawa promotes it, yeah, that's what they want. They want to dictate to you and me what we can watch and see here. So if this goes through, hopefully it doesn't go through, because as far as I know, it needs to go through the Senate first. Okay, it has to go through the Senate. And I hope to God, those appointed senators that sit in Ottawa will probably think twice about screwing around with this, because it's not just going to affect me or you. It's going to affect some Liberal supporters too, and Les Bloc supporters, because there'll be jurisdiction and rules coming down to stop some Quebecers from promoting their content too. Whether they speak French or English, it doesn't matter what language they speak, right? So I know there's a lot of Québécois, Parti les Québécois, who are helping Justin back up this C11 and C18, right? Something to think about, isn't it? Doesn't look too promising, right? But the more I've read about it, and the more it's confusing, because they say one thing and mean another. But then what do you expect from these clowns, right? Not too bloody much.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And as I mentioned, here's a video from the fine people from Canada Proud. I got this video off of Facebook there. So please read the subtitles, read the titles, and listen carefully to what exactly C11 and C18 really are. Okay, it's just it's a little redundant how they're trying to promote this here. So please pay attention at your leisure and assess yourself accordingly.
The internet, and he's pushing 2 new laws that could seriously impact how you use it. The first is Bill C11, which seeks to bring Canadian content laws to your social media feeds. The law would essentially allow the Trudeau government to rewrite algorithms. Those are the codes that decide what pops up on your Facebook feed, your Twitter feed, your YouTube recommendations, virtually anywhere on social media. So if you're one of the tens of millions of Canadians who use social media, that could be very bad news for you. If you regularly see and watch content from foreign creators, your ability to find them may be restricted. If you like watching, American fashion bloggers, Brazilian foodies, Indian rappers, you name it will suddenly become a lot harder to find them. If you're an immigrant and want to follow what's going on in the country you were born in or where your family still lives, that's going to be restricted too. But it's even worse news for Canadians who create this content, because it's not enough to just be a Canadian and make content. No. You would have to prove that your Canadian content is Canadian enough to please the government. That means if you include actors who aren't Canadian, or music from another country, or virtually anything that's foreign, you'll be at risk of having your work suppressed by the government. Yes, the man who once said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian wants to set up new regulations which will tell you exactly how Canadian you are and punish you if you're not Canadian enough. That's the new line of the
Bend over,
progressive
folks. Here
Trudeau.
it comes.
The second proposal is Bill C-18, which would give the Trudeau government unprecedented control over journalism in this country. Under the bill, the government would order social media companies to give money to, quote, eligible news businesses for appearing on their website. But here's the catch. The government gets to decide what an eligible news business is, which means the government can take money from the private sector and give it to journalists who they approve of while leaving journalists they don't like out to dry. This is a very serious and very scary attack on our freedoms, and Canadians need to speak up before it's too late.
Yeah, and that was by the fine folks at Canada Proud there. Nice page on Facebook there. So for all you Canadian patriots and supporters alike, please check out that page too. It's now eligible for government, well, basically government approved, government sanctioned, government approved, right? Right? All in the name of protecting us. All in the name of making sure there's no hate speech out there, telling people that they're stupid and they're doughheads and they're turkey lips. Gobble, 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 gobble. Yeah, we've heard that before too. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So it's up to us, up to the viewers, up to you and me, up to everybody else that creates this content. Whether you like my show or you like the above mentioned shows, like I said, from Rebel, TNC, Daniel Boardman, Diverge Media, right? Greg Wycliffe, the comedian who's got some pretty good tongue-in-cheek stuff he does on TikTok, right? Or any politician for that matter. Okay? It's up to us to decide what we watch and do. That's the way it should be. That's the way it always has been. You know, you decide as the viewer. You decide, not the government, not an elected official, definitely not an appointed official. Okay, because I know for sure that all these people that sit on the CRTC are not elected. They're appointed or they apply for the job, and they're going to dictate to you and me what we can watch. What's Canadian enough? Okay, well here, just for shits and giggles, I'll prove my Canadiana for you. Not only am I wearing a toque, but I fought for this country. Yes, I'm a veteran. To my first-time watchers and listeners, I am a veteran of the Canadian Army. I served 20 years. I worked with fellow Canadians on many tasks. I've been trained in peace support operations, and I was trained for war. I carried a radio overseas my last tour. Did I see battles? Yeah. Was I scared? Yeah. Was I excited? Yeah. But I did my job. And to the men and women that I worked with, I would gladly give them a shirt off my back in a goddamn heartbeat. Okay? I played hockey. I've coached hockey. I played lacrosse. I've coached lacrosse. I played soccer. I've coached soccer. Right? So I've been involved in our sports for a very, very long time. Played softball as a kid. Played softball in the Army and played softball when I was out of the Army. Interacted and mingled with people from all walks of life. I married a great lady. She's from Calgary. Hey. Things are pretty good. I paid Canadian taxes. I've eaten Canadian beef. I've used Canadian gasoline. Tell me how I figured that one out, right? I'm wearing a toque on my head, like I mentioned before, eh? And it doesn't matter if I'm white. Doesn't matter if my friend, my best friend in the whole world, is First Nations. We are Canadians, right? 300 years ago, this wasn't Canada. No, this was native land. This was being settled by Europeans and other walks of life, too. It was a colony. It was becoming a colony between France and the United States, or not the United States, Great Britain, United Kingdom, sorry. My apologies out there to my Canadian historian friends. But you catch my point. Okay? And who are these clowns that have spent a lot of Canadian money on ridiculous things like China? Not the people of China, but the Communist Party of China. Not to mention PPE that they sent to China. Not to mention overspending on things that really didn't benefit our country. And yet they're telling me and you and your friends and my friends and their two friends and so on what we can see online. Now, why is that? You want to stop radicalization, then stop making radical decisions that would encourage radicalization. Okay? Stop doing stupid things that are going to prompt people to get out in convoys and protest mandates. There's the magic word. How about you lay off all these mandates? There's an idea. Now, they have lifted the mandates when it comes to travel in this country. They should be fully in effect come Monday, this coming Monday, right? I believe the 20th. But then what? Come the fall, when people are back from their summer vacations and back traveling, when there's that little window of non-traveling, you're going to instate the mandates again because of so-called monkeypox, or because of other variants you're going to make up, or because you want to create more control. More conquer and divide, right? So you turn the screws, the Canadian people return the screws, and you dig even deeper, and then you demand unity and peace and love and stop the hate. Maybe you should set that example.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Honestly, maybe you should set a better example when it comes to that. Now, it's obvious that the Trudeau Liberals, the Trudeau Liberal brand, is dying. Okay. Because I've said this numerous times in the show, ladies and gentlemen, I've said it on my Facebook page and my update page, that the Canadian Liberal Party is nowhere near to what our parents' Liberals were. Well, firstly, they're not promoting liberalism. They're not. They're being a little more progressive. They're too hard left. Okay. Any government office that suggests they should control something like what we watch and see on television, as far as I'm concerned, is way out of line. Okay. You are affecting freedom of speech. You're affecting freedom of expression. Okay. And as a Canadian content creator who speaks his mind, who does, well, I think is right, to tell you, my wonderful audience out there, how I feel, my perspective on things, I think that's my bloody fucking right. Pardon my swearing, but I think it is. And who's some bean counter sitting in some office someplace in Ottawa, picking up the telephone going, yeah, he's doing it again. He's criticizing the government. What should we do? How is that fair? Right? Am I not Canadian enough? I'm sorry. Would you like me to carry another rifle for 20 years? Would that make me more Canadian? Should I have been a little more involved in minor sports? Perhaps maybe pursued hockey excellence in my youth? Would that make me more Canadian? Would that make my content more Canadian? Maple Leaf on my head, Maple Leaf logo there in the corner of the screen there. There's a Maple Leaf behind me here. There's a red ensign behind me, Union Jack, part of Canadian history. Okay? I get paid Canadian money. I eat Canadian food. Some of it's imported, yes. But I always stop to make a point of grabbing some local farm vegetables too when they're available. Is that not Canadian enough for you? I drive a truck that was made in Canada. Okay? I use a hockey stick that was made in Canada. Some of the clothes I wear are made in Canada. Is that not Canadian enough for you? Right? I smoke Canadian tobacco. Is that not Canadian enough for you? I drink Canadian coffee. Now, coffee doesn't grow in Canada, but it's manufactured and produced by a Canadian company. Right? Is that not Canadian enough for you? Justin Trudeau, his whole party said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. Great. Then who are you to decide what content I should watch or promote, or what anyone else should watch and see? You, my wonderful viewers, you have a choice to tune in every time I put new product up. You have a choice, and you have a choice to comment or whatever. But I am going to say, though, please comment some more if you can, too, to get the algorithm going. So it'll work in our favor and your favor, too. So people can look at your comments and go, yeah, I might agree or I might disagree, and engage in conversation. Or I might agree with you or disagree with you. Either or, we can engage in conversation. That's the way communications work. They don't need to be monitored. They don't need to be analyzed for your approval to see if it's Canadian or not Canadian. You decide that as a consumer. Right? And a lot of these ass clowns just don't get it.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at episode 177. My God, 177 episodes I have up right now. For your safety, Creeping Bill C11 and C18 censored. That's right. And don't look at Justin Trudeau there with little mistakes on his face. Yes. And, I would say something derogatory, but, I don't want the powers of the tube censors weighing in on us. I guess apparently you can't say a certain R word now too, because that's deemed as the bad thing too. So when I refer to bigotry, whatever, and I use the R word, I'll probably have to say the R word from now on. But I think you all get my point, ladies and gentlemen. Now, people that watch YouTube and watch the bigger names on Instagram and watching Twitter, okay, you would assume that people have the intelligence to understand jokes and humor, but because of all this censorship that's been going on the past 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years in some cases, people are starting to forget the difference between actually safety and comfort. Okay. You walk into a job site with power tools and nailers and everything, you're going to need steel toe boots and a hard hat and protective eyewear. Okay. You work in a machine shop, you need protective eyewear, steel toe boots, proper gloves, and what have you. If you do, well, you don't wear gloves on a machine, you go barehanded, no jewelry or nothing. Okay. But you have to have a certain apron on or a certain covering, protect you from metal shavings or wood shavings, depending if you're in a wood shop or a metal shop. Okay. That's where you need safety equipment. That's where you need the safety element coming in. Okay. But if you read something online that you disagree with, or read something in the papers, or see something on television that just drives you up the goddamn wall, suck it up. Be an adult. Okay. Yet we got buffoons and clowns sitting in our nation's capital trying to decide to pass this bill. Okay. Now we can sit and blame every party, including the Conservatives, okay, for not doing enough to stop this, okay, without taking a stand. And there have been a lot of Bloc Québécois, a lot of NDP, and most of the Liberals sitting there tickling Justin's little behind saying, way to go, boss. Yeah, we'll stand behind this. When they shouldn't, because it's going to affect them too. Okay? So that's what gets me with all these decisions they made in transport, how to mandate on people's livelihoods. Yet they never paid attention to the mandates themselves because they traveled all the bloody world. Okay? Who's to say a year from now, people have had enough, they want another election called, election gets called, but you have all these censorship bills in the way, you're not going to get your point out. Same as you liberals out there that voted for this garbage. You're digging yourselves into a hole, ladies and gentlemen. And you're not going to see the repercussions about this later. You're not paying attention because, it's about them looking after my safety. Safety of what? From not seeing something bad or hearing something bad? Are you that arrogant that you can't handle that? Really? Are you afraid of knowing there's news in the world where people are getting hurt and killed? That there's different opinions on things? Do you honestly feel that you can't cope with seeing bad words online? Really? What kind of bubble do you live in? Right? Especially some of the Gen Xers out there that are backing this shit up. Not to mention some of the older boomers out there that are backing this shit up. Really? Give your head a shake a bit. Honestly. Give it a good shake. Sit back, okay? Toke a joint and go out and pay for a fucking blowjob because you're going to goddamn need it.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Whew, I was a little winded there, ladies and gentlemen, a little emotional for my viewers out there. But I think my diehard Canuck fans, Crusty Canuck fans out there, know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this procedure, right? Know exactly what's going on when it comes to this, because it's not beneficial to anybody later on. So let's say the Senate approves this and says, okay, fine, we'll censor this and censor that. And then every government that comes in is going to take advantage of said situation. To promote what? So people like myself will be off. We won't be offline. We won't be able to do our work anymore. People like Press for Truth, people like Lauren Southern, another great Canadian out there. She's quite in-depth, quite the documentary filmmaker, and just an all-around decent person from what I can tell. She'll be offline too. How about all the Canadian comedians that are coming up, writing some great skits? And someone might find offense to that. So you're going to flag that and say, well, we can't promote this. It's not Canadian enough, or it doesn't meet Canadian standards. What exactly could be Canadian standards then if they're going to promote Canadiana, right? I won't be able to watch my favorite American friends, my favorite British friends, my favorite German creators out there, right? Because it's not Canadian enough. There's lots of great artists out there from all over the world that contribute so much to this little platform that make life a little bit easier for people. And the past 2 years has proven that too. I created more content during the lockdowns than I ever did. And I wasn't expecting any kind of lockdowns to happen, but I had a lot of time on my hands. I was unemployed in a bit there. So I was making more podcasts. But now we can't do it because we're not Canadian enough, or we're against the government. As far as I can remember, there's always been talk shows on the radio and on television that would always be speaking out against the current president or the current prime minister, one way or the other. And it didn't matter if it was an American show or a Canadian show or a British show for that matter. It did matter because people had the choice to either tune in or tune out. You still have a choice online, ladies and gentlemen. It's still there. However, the government wants to take the upper hand in that and just put a cap on it. Because they're looking after for your safety. It's not the hate speech. It's not the radicalization of people. Yeah, okay. Where have we heard that before? Some little guy with a little mustache back in the 1930s? Stopping the radicalization? Blaming a certain group of people for something terrible that was going on in that country at that time? Blaming other groups of people? Right? Eerily similar to what we hear or what we've heard before, right? No, can't be. Not that little man. But then our prime minister called a lot of us, call us the R word, misogynists, sexists, anti-science and science deniers and climate deniers. And it's our fault this happens. And it's these people's fault when that happens. What does that remind you of again? Some little Austrian guy by the name of A.H., the funny mustache? I'm not saying that, our beloved potato puppet prime minister is, borderline, fascist. It's pretty much more close to being a commie than a fascist, but totalitarian nonetheless. And I'm sure if he had the magic wand to cast some nasty spells, I think he'd do it.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
I remember when I was overseas, ladies and gentlemen, and we'd come across some older buildings or some buildings that were abandoned or destroyed, and they were meant to be schools for young girls and children in general in Afghanistan. And how the Taliban destroyed them or threatened the villages not to educate little girls because of the belief, right? And in a way, we were there fighting censorship too, because we wanted the Afghan people to have their liberty and their freedoms as well. And we never enforced our style of democracy on the Afghan people. We showed them things, how to be self-sufficient. Some of them were, some of them weren't, without being reliant on things. We showed them how to plant crops. We showed them how to be kind. And where I was and what we did and the work we did, I think it was pretty fucking bang on. And like I've said numerous times, I don't look back at those adventures as of something in vain or a waste of time. But I like to think that we made a difference over there, that we stood up on principles of freedom and democracy and to live your life to your ability, to the best ability that you know how, without messing up their culture or they're messing up our culture, vice versa. Basically defending the little guy. Okay. Now, last year we saw the footage and how Mr. Biden pulled everything out and all these weapons were unaccounted for, all this kit and equipment, and the lackluster performance that our federal government did when it come to helping the less fortunate flee for their lives. And there's still dilemmas up in the air and out there where people are struggling. in both of our countries. And it takes me back there sometimes briefly, back to the smells and the cracks and the thumps. And it takes me back to those dark places, but I'm here now trying to exude and promote the light to the best of my ability, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with these officials promoting C11 and C18, not only are they going to dictate terms to me and my fellow YouTubers and podcasters out there in this glorious country of Canada, but they're going to dictate who's a legitimate journalist or not as well, too. And there's quite a bit of citizen journalism coming out, which I think is fantastic. All the more, all the power to yous, all the power to the people out there that want to write articles, whether it be on Substack or other platforms, to get the words out. So you're also going to say goodbye to some great publications like Post Millennial and Druthers, just to name a couple, who want to promote media integrity to its finest. Right? We're living in scary times, ladies and gentlemen, and I really don't know what else to say other than fight the good fight and do what we can to overcome this monstrosity of leadership, this garbage of so-called democracy. They're not promoting democracy. They're promoting fear. They want you to be scared. They want you to question everything around you. And yet when you do come up with a valid question, they dismiss it as conspiracy theory. How many conspiracy theories have come to light thus far? How many? Pardon the flickering here. I'm having some issue with my lights here, ladies and gentlemen. But as long as you can see me, you can see the words in my screen here. It'll be just fine. But I think you get my point, though, ladies and gentlemen. Right? What is going to be deemed unnecessary or necessary? What's going to be deemed Canadian, not Canadian? Okay. Do I have to sing my anthem in French? Well, okay, I can learn how to again, not a problem. Right? Do I have to, rewrite the Canadian national anthem to satisfy the so-called marginalized? Nah, fuck you. I'm going to say all thy sons command. Right? Because I was based on the sacrifice of men who volunteered to go fight in the trenches in World War I. Right? And when someone says to me the anthem's not inclusive, what do you think we stand on guard for thee is? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Anyhow, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 18th of June, 2022. If you like it here to see, please click like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this around and share it around all your platforms. And do not forget to comment. Oh, please, ladies and gentlemen, please comment. When I put this video out here, please comment the best of your ability. Help the algorithm change so the government doesn't have its dirty little frickin' fingers in there to tell you what to think and what to see. I want you to think for yourself, and I want you to do well for yourself. I wish nothing but good things for all yous out there. You need to. The past couple of years have been hard on everybody. North America, South America, Europe, you name it. On the free world as we see it. Got to keep fighting for that freedom, folks. Once again, too, I'd like to put another little advert here, too. If you like to hear to see, please, you can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, YouTube, Getter, and Podbean. And I want to thank you all for watching and listening. Every time I put these episodes together, I think of all you, my wonderful fans and audience out there. Because without you, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd probably be doing it some other platform, but needless to say, it's because of you wonderful people out there I do this show. To my fellow Canadians, to my American friends, to my British friends, German friends, my friends all over the world, thank you very much for the kind responses I've been receiving the past little while, too. Anyhow, like I said, it's 18th of June, 2022. Weather's getting warmer outside, so I got to do some yard work again tomorrow. I'm off for my work cycle, but I'll leave some links in the description for you guys to follow. Some pretty cool news stories from Rebel there, too, in regards to some of the buffoonery our local MPs have been promoting. What else is new, really? You think about it. Like I say, folks, do what you can to help each other in these trying times. And I'll probably have another episode up this coming Tuesday, probably the 21st. So stay tuned to that, if you can, ladies and gentlemen. And always remember, humanity merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worth.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.